Hey guys, what is up? It is Bibs07 here again, and welcome to another RuneScape 3 video here today. In this video, I don't really know what I'm going to talk about exactly. This is going to be one of my more rambling type videos where I just sort of talk about what's been going on and stuff like that. Nothing really specific that I plan to talk about, kind of just like the state of the game and what we're looking at in the near future here after they released what did they call it? What was the name of this post? A look ahead. More like, I don't even know what I would call it. We're not looking very far ahead. And when you do look, there's not much there. So basically, a look at the barren wasteland that has become this game and the future, which basically doesn't exist. So yeah, I mean, I haven't played like at all in the past, 2 or 3 months. As you can tell by me not uploading anything since December 10th. But even before that, this is probably the longest I've gone without actively playing. Since probably 10 plus years now. I've usually, it takes a couple months break here or there, maybe even up to 6 months. But if I'm looking back and scrolling through my videos, aside from the Necromancy release, which I did come back and play for maybe a week. I basically haven't played actively since like December of 2022 or something. It's been probably over a year since I've really grinded at all. Aside from a few stints where I had the porter buff on my Iron Man, I did do that, although that was pretty much all archaeology, full AFK, hardly paying attention to the game, mostly doing other things. But yeah, outside of necromancy, I really haven't done much on the game, and necromancy only made it worse for me personally. I mean, I was still playing on my Iron Man a little bit, getting it up and working towards things, but I know there's a pretty big divide in the community on what people think about how necromancy if impacted the game and how it did what do you want to call it? It did make an absolute like almost all of the content in the game. It did make essentially obsolete in terms of the combat meta for any skill level of player. And I know a lot of people on Reddit that are big fans of necromancy always say that the only people who don't like it are elitists, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think I'm really much of an elitist. I am fairly experienced at PVM. I've done 2K Telos, which isn't even that impressive these days, I assume. But I've done a little bit of solo Zammy. I've done pretty much all the PVM content in the game, at least a little bit. But it's not like I'm out there doing 4K Glacier or any of the the crazy feats that people do. And I'm not one of those or AOD grinders who I know are usually not the most pleasant of people in my experience. But I mean, I for me, necromancy pretty much ruined the game. Like it makes me not want to play at all because a big part of the motivation I like to use on my Iron Man, and I haven't really played this main account actively outside of skill releases or update testing in years, like a really long time. So I'm mostly talking about the perspective of an Iron Man here, and it would be different on like a main account, but it also is similar because of the way things would drop in value now. I assume I haven't looked at prices or anything, but I assume things that are were previously worth a lot before necromancy are now probably worth a lot less. Things like FSOA, Bow of the Last Guardian, because of the fact that necromancy was so much more powerful than all of those and made them essentially useless if you wanted to use the best stuff in the game for damage and everything. But yeah, basically a big motivator for me to get my account up and get supplies ready and then go do bosses was to get those gear upgrades for doing harder bosses. But now there's no point in really doing that. Like, why would I go do Virago aside from just going for the collection log again on an Iron Man? Why would I go do it other than that? Like, whereas before I could go do Virago, maybe hoping to get a seismic wand, which would be really nice to have, obviously, as an upgrade if I'm not going to be able to do AOD yet, because that would be really good for having greater concentrated blast being usable and stuff like that, either of the seismic items. And then, of course, like working towards the elite tectonic armor by getting the tectonic energy. I mean, Virago's was previously a great boss as far to reach in progression for your account, but now if I were to go kill Virago, it would only be for the collection log, which for me isn't really that big of a motivator behind doing something that might be a little bit more challenging. Like if I already had the gear completed and I was just going to try and finish the collection log, like grinding for the pets is like a little bit of a different approach, but like just getting started on new bosses or even having the motivation to grind up to get to that point, a lot of it was to chase those gear upgrades. But with necromancy, you can just craft yourself all the way up to tier 90 gear, and this is similar with like melee, but for me, a magic was always my favorite combat style, so I kind of always had those goals in mind. And even with melee, there's some things that you can get that are obviously way better from PVM. The Elder Rune 2H is pretty good that you can make with smithing, but it's not going to really compare to like a ZGS or some of the other good weapons that you can get from PVM because of their additional special attacks and passive effects that you get. Whereas with necromancy, obviously the only thing that really is worth doing for gear upgrades as far as PVM is Raziel, which isn't really even that hard as far as I'm concerned. And most people, I believe there's even an AFK method for it, although I'm not sure if I think that was patched. I don't know though. Again, I haven't really been keeping my finger on the pulse of things, but obviously these upgrades are good, but it's just this one boss, which in my opinion is not really that interesting. And even without this gear set, just having the gear that you can create yourself without doing any PVM, and no, I do not count Hermod as a PVM encounter, just as much as I wouldn't count like Giant Mole as really a PVM boss to go for. It's basically like a glorified Slayer monster. But yeah, you basically don't have to do any boss, and you can get an insanely strong tier 90 gear set that you can pretty much do all content with. You don't need the Raziel robes, and even if you do get them, I mean they're not that huge of an upgrade. There's a lot of convenience behind having the conjure duration increased, and then the Omni Guard and Soulbound Lantern things are quite strong. They are like pretty big upgrades, but compared to the difference in power already between necromancy and other styles, there's no real need to try and go for these sets unless you are trying to get again the collection log or something like that, or I mean if you just want the best possible gear for the style. But yeah, having all of but then I get this gear, and then I just don't have any real motivation to go for other sets for other styles because they're not that strong. And then of course now we have this combat beta that apparently isn't even going to come out now until next month in March. And I mean, necromancy came out at the beginning of August, so that's going to be 7 months after the release of the skill that they finally fix the game's core combat system from being completely imbalanced. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking with the release of necromancy. And I've talked about this in other videos where it's just they for me it did ruin the game. And again, it's kind of hard for me to put it into words exactly how I feel about it, but having only necromancy as like the clear strongest combat style just is not fun for me. Like personally, mage is my preferred combat style, and mage has been one of the stronger styles for a lot of the time, but the range was always pretty close to it ever since the release of like greater ricochet and stuff like that. Even was stronger than it at times. I'm not 100% sure where that all landed out. Melee's been on the back burner for a little while, but even melee had some niche uses. Like I learned quite a bit of melee skill when I was doing Solok speed kills back in the day. I was doing hybrid melee and mage, so I still had reason to learn about and utilize the other styles. But with necromancy, it's just the one size fits all best for every single thing, as far as I know. I mean, again, I'm not that in detail with the current meta, but as far as I know, that's how it is. You just use the necromancy insanely overpowered conjures and abilities and call it a day. So not having that variety at all, and having everything that the mage that I liked using and everything I knew about it just be completely worthless until maybe this combat beta, when it releases, will make things more balanced again. But the thing is, with this combat release, the beta release that they're doing, they're not making necromancy worse. They're not really rebalancing it in that way. They're just making everything else even more OP. And this is something I mentioned in a video before. I don't really understand why they decided to just increase the power level so much all at once in the game. Like, there's slowly been power creep over the years. Like, obviously doing 4K Enraged Telos was a lot harder before things like the Fractured Staff of Armadyl came out and things like that made the game a lot more, the player a lot more strong in the game. But even still, with things like that, the power creep is much slower. There's like, we go up like 3 weapon tiers, or small things like that, and then you have things like the what's it called, the special attack, sorry, of the Fractured Staff, obviously being a pretty overpowered thing that they eventually nerfed. But even still, like, the power creep was slow over time, and then necromancy comes out and it's just like 2 or 3 years worth of power creep at the normal rate all at once in one single update. And now apparently that's just what they're sticking with. So I know that some PVM encounters were, I guess you would say, too difficult for maybe the average player, but I don't know. I haven't always been a great PVMer, and my videos, my super old videos on my channel, are plenty evidence of that. I have videos on my channel of me struggling to do a Raxor, like dying multiple times trying to do a Reaper task at Rax. And I remember learning Telos. And having these more difficult things that I currently couldn't do, and I needed to learn and get better, maybe get better gear to be able to complete them, was always a fun and cool motivator thing for me to have in the game. And now, obviously, at the point that I'm at, where I'm able to do everything, that's less of a thing that I have for myself. But having necromancy release and have all this power creep all at once has made things quite a lot easier, and maybe removed that potential journey for others. And I don't know, maybe people don't care about that, or people just want things to be easy for themselves. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling at this point, not really with a clear goal in mind. But that to me is like why I've felt so demotivated to even bother playing ever since the release of necromancy. And I'm not sure this whole combat beta rebalancing will change that too much, if all they're doing is making everything way stronger as a result. Like, I don't know. I don't really like, there's nothing really in the game that warrants us being that strong now, and things that currently exist are going to become a lot easier, and maybe that'll be more fun. Maybe I will go do some solo Virago, because that would probably be pretty fun, although it'll be a lot easier again with the changes that I assume that they're making. But I don't know. And then, like, the Vorkath boss release really did not improve things for me at all. I have a whole video ranting about that for 35 minutes, but they basically haven't changed anything that I am aware of that is even relevant. There's no um, there's no better telegraphs for the stupid Zemarigal attacks. There's nothing changed that I'm aware of. I skim the patch notes, and usually if there's a big and important update, people post about it on Reddit, which I still look at on occasion, and I haven't seen anything about it. So as far as I know, there is nothing to do with Vorkath being better that they've released. And one thing that I thought was so funny that they did actually very recently was the change to solo Zamorak, which I did. I have a whole video on this as well, which I posted way back when Zamorak released. So you'd probably have to go back pretty far in the video list to find that. But I talked basically about Zamorak and how I thought about it after getting 500% Enrage in solo. And yeah, pretty much I still maintain the opinion that you should not be able to get the back rune second in a solo fight. It makes it so much more difficult than if it's one of the front runes, that it's just unreasonable to have that much impact of the difficulty of the fight based on just pure RNG at the end. I just think it's so stupid that that's the way it works. And after however long it's been, like when did Zamorak come out? Like summer of 2022. So like a year and a half later, they finally make a change for solo. And what they do is they reduce the health of the runes in solo phase 7. That's it. That's all they changed. And when I read that, I was like, that sounds like it's going to make it harder because there's a lot of setup you want to do on the runes. And if you get a back rune second, you can't really do, like, if you got the front rune second, you can do like setup on the boss, which doesn't take damage, but you can do like some setup, like your FSOA spec, your whatever, your tsunami, get all your stuff ready. And then I don't know if I think you can't really use necromancy at Zamorak phase 7. That's like the one place that it doesn't trump everything because your death skulls will bounce to the runes. I don't know if that's been changed or not. But that's like the one exception. So that's why I mentioned mage there. But yeah, you do want to do a lot of setup. And like I said, if you have the back rune, doing the setup on the boss and then running all the way to the rune, surging to it, whatever, and then coming back to your sunshine near the boss is probably not going to work out super well for you. And now it would be even, like it's even harder to make that happen because you can't do a whole lot of setup on the runes now because they have half the health. And there was someone that did a whole Reddit post, like I just speculated talking with my friends. I was like, hey, did you see this patch note? Because none of the people that I know, that I talk to actively play the game at all right now either. But I just posted a little patch note in our little group chat. I said, did you guys see this patch note? It sounds to me like that would actually make it worse. And they were like, yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. They weren't really too interested because they don't care too much about the game right now, which is reasonable. And then like the next day or a couple days later, I saw a post on Reddit of someone saying how it actually makes the fight worse and more difficult than before. And that was not their intention at all. So another classic epic failure by Jagex. I don't see why they're so against making it actually reasonable and not just so dumb based off complete RNG. Like I really don't understand why they can't just make it so that the second rune that gets chosen is always one of the two in the front. Then it would be perfectly reasonable for there to still be two runes, leave them at the same health, any of that. But having the back rune RNG is just so bad that you have such a worse time on getting the kill when that happens. And I know that's probably, people have no problem doing it now because of how long it's been out, but I haven't done the boss since my 500% enrage push at the release date, around the release date time. So that's still where I'm at in that opinion. And I don't know, that was just really funny to me and something I just wanted to talk about for a second. But yeah, after rambling on about all that, I can now mention, this actually embarrassing to even read look ahead message from Mod Keeper, who looked at the clock and saw it was 3 p.m. on a Friday, sat down for 5 minutes and wrote up this little number of an article and then sent it out and ran out the door. It's just ridiculous. Like it's like, basically, if I saw someone actually do this on Reddit, they cut out all the BS language. They love using their BS language about like let's see, let's get an example of one of those. Yeah, last year we made a concerted effort to deepen the ways we work with our community. Like this is all just BS, that fluff that tells you nothing about what's actually coming ahead. There's only like 3 or 4 relevant sentences is what's coming in the next few months in this message. And as far as I understand it, although I, again, haven't been paying as much attention, but I believe they were saying that they were going to give us info on the first half of the year, but this only tells us what's coming up until March, which is only next month. So this month and next month, 2 months instead of the 6 months out of the year that you might have expected to get from this news post. But basically, this month they're releasing some tiny quest in the city of I mean, it's called the Owlery quest. So any quest that's about an owl tower is certainly not going to be anything too epic, I'm sure. So that's probably going to be like a short, like 10-15 minute quest that you just do, and you can get this new pieces of moonstone jewelry to craft, which I have a hard time believing are going to be new best in slot meta jewelry pieces, because they're coming from alleged or probably this Owlery quest, although maybe they are separate updates. I don't know. Not very clear because this post is completely devoid of images or any sort of roadmap. It's just text on the screen that doesn't even go into very much detail on things coming within the next few weeks, let alone a look ahead. And then in March, again, I said they're planning to do they call it our big combat update. And what I call it is fixing the absolute mess they left the combat system in with the release of Necromancy 7 months too late. Like, literally completely destroyed the balance of the combat system with dropping Necromancy. Didn't do anything about it for like 2 or 3 months, and then we're like, okay, we'll make this beta, and now only in March we'll be getting that eventual result. And by that time, or at this point, like, I don't even, like I said, I don't even know if that would make any difference for me to come back to play more or not. But yeah, that I wouldn't really say it's our big combat update. Like, you're just trying to fix the disaster class you've left the game in after your skill release that was clearly not considered in the balancing at all. And then there's going to be an Easter event in March, which they say is going to be like the Christmas event. So whatever. I mean, the Christmas event was really boring and uninteresting for me. I don't know. People apparently loved it, probably because they thought that they might get a black party hat off of their stupid lottery system that the people who still play this game are such huge fans of, I guess. And then they had the stupid presents again, which are never, the odds on those are absurdly low and stupid for something that's cosmetic in the game, and it should never be as rare as it is, in my opinion. But yeah, another thing that's also put me off the game a decent amount is kind of the seeming passive acceptance of like all these ridiculous MTX promos that has all of a sudden seemed to start happening. And maybe it's been happening in the community and I haven't paid much attention to it, because obviously I'm, like I said, primarily an Iron Man player, and don't really look at anything related to MTX if I can avoid it. Like, even on this account, I have 47 keys that I've gotten for free randomly. I don't even know. Yeah, earned keys 44, 3 daily keys. I don't even know what it means by earned keys or where I earned them from, but like, I don't use them. What the fuck? Are you kidding me? All I did was open and they put this garbage in my inventory. Bro, this game is just going into the garbage chute, dude. Holy crap. That is so ridiculous. Oh my god. I'm glad I got that live reaction to that. That's wow. Like, all I want to do is show how I don't want to use this, and they're like, "Oh, here, get some free stuff. You can get more of that if you just spend some of those keys that you've got, and then maybe you want to buy more." What the hell is this? Toggles? Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Good for people who click stuff in their inventory, I guess. Although honestly, I can't believe that this didn't. They should have came out with this in like 2008. I swear to God, but. Is this something that finally came out? I don't really click stuff in my inventory at all. I try to have everything keybound, so not a big impact for me, but it was a random thing. I didn't know they added that button to the bottom bar there. But yeah, like, it seems like people will post like stuff about like the promos or like getting a certain thing off Treasure Hunter, and people will like upvote it, and they'll have like positive sounding discussions about MTX in the comments on Reddit. And it's like, last time I checked, whenever anybody posted anything about MTX on Reddit that wasn't negative, it would get downvoted into oblivion. So I don't know when all of a sudden the community shift happened where people are suddenly all about it and are up for discussing it and stuff like that. That's something else that's put me off, the community in general there. And maybe that's because anybody who was always against MTX is no longer even playing anymore. They've given up at this point, especially after the disaster of Necromancy. But that is kind of just speculation, as is a lot of things that I tend to say. But yeah, that's. I don't know. Is there anything else I want to say? Like, just a complete embarrassment of a news post here. I can't believe they even had the gall to post this and call it a look ahead. It really just tells you basically nothing. It tells you we're basically getting no content for at least the next 2 months, if not further on. Because if they had content ready, what they probably would have told us about it, wouldn't they? I don't know. Who knows? as many people mention, although I didn't want to go into it too much, Old School got an extensive, detailed roadmap of upcoming content, including a bunch of different big updates that are going to be coming out this year. Let me see. Let me look at theirs. Yeah, theirs goes all the way up to summer 2024. Has this like free to play, or is it free to play? I don't know. Some like low level boss that already came out. New quest, wilderness update, which I don't care about, but sounds like a lot of stuff is coming with that. Then a whole new area expansion that's happening in two parts. One in March with a bunch of stuff, and then again in the summer. Wild Gothic Sleeps, which is one of the biggest quests in the game, that's coming in the summer as well. And then I think Sailing is maybe second half of the year or something. I don't know, but they have all this stuff to look forward to in their pipeline, and a lot of details about it. Like each one of these things has a bunch of additional information underneath it that tells you what's going to be included in these things. And yeah, we get literally 2 or 3 lines of text saying, "We ain't got jack for you." Okay, so get over it. That's pretty much what they said. And yeah, I don't know, that really doesn't imbue me with confidence in the direction of the game going forward. But yeah, I mean, like I haven't thrown in the towel completely, or quit and sold all my stuff or suicided my hardcores or anything like that. I still have membership for the time being, although I am definitely going to be hard pressed to renew my Premiere next year if things don't turn around this year. But yeah, I don't know. What have you guys been up to? How have you guys been doing? I mean, outside, I mean, I sound all angry and whatever, but this really doesn't matter that much to me anymore. I'm kind of over it. Like I don't really even follow the game too much. I don't really think about it all that much. Like on Mondays, I'll probably check out the update notes if there are any, but you know, I'm not constantly raging or worrying about it. I just been playing a bunch of other games on Steam mostly. Just, you know, I've got a ton of games to play on there that I'm going through. So uh, it's been enjoyable for the most part. And then other than that, just, you know, working, doing whatever. Not a whole lot new been happening for me. But what about you guys? What have you guys been up to? What are you still playing RuneScape, or what? What do you think of my unbelievable capacity to just rant for no reason and ramble about nothing? I just wanted to, you know, make something to throw this out there. I thought was a good time to do so, given they just released that pile of garbage news post. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily expect RuneScape related videos coming from me in the near future. I have been contemplating making a second channel, or I think I already have a secondary channel that I've uploaded some stuff on Resident Evil 4 remake when that came out, and I put a whole let's play, or I wouldn't really call it a let's play, but just like my raw playthrough of the Talos Principle 2 I threw up on there. I've been thinking about maybe trying to do some like game review style content on there, but with like a completionist shade to it, because something I like doing quite a bit is going for 100% achievements in my Steam games. And I think it could be cool to do reviews of the Steam games that I've completed with like a sort of a more of a focus on that aspect of the game, like actually going for that 100% completion, as opposed to, you know, the normal approach of, you know, just the general overview of the game and stuff like that. But I don't know. I haven't done any of those just yet, but that's something I've maybe been thinking about firing up. And also maybe been thinking about potentially trying to make a game of my own. I think I could do it, but I'm not sure if I have the right motivation to actually get started on a big project like that. But maybe sometime in the future. So yeah, I mean, that's like non RuneScape related things for me. But yeah, let me know what you guys been up to down in the comments. And yeah, if you're interested in any of that stuff, maybe go check out my other channel. It's just Bibzuda, no number. And maybe I'll see you guys over there if I end up going forward with any of that. No guarantees there, but as far as this channel is concerned, I mean, at the moment, there's definitely no videos in my mind that are coming soon, but who knows? I mean, it seems to happen sort of sporadically and randomly coming out of nowhere where I do get the urge and motivation to play the game again. So if that does happen anytime soon, then I'll, of course, come back to uploading videos again. But for now, I definitely am not going to be doing that regularly at all. I'll probably make a video when the combat release comes out, at least, just to see what ends up being changed and how it affects things, but not necessarily going to be coming back to play as a result of that. And then, I mean, hopefully in March at least they have some sort of content announcement. I don't know. Like I'll probably cover that if there is a big update announced, but I don't know. It's looking pretty grim. The future of the game is not bright as far as I'm concerned. So thanks for watching, you guys. If you did make it all the way to the end, then I do commend you on your ability to withstand my tirade of random BS, and thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.